Chapter 31. Gru tore the house down. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Soon, the video of Su Yang's singing spread around the campus like wildfire. Look! Some passerby is singing at our campus entrance and his voice is amazing. Is this some television recording a show? Ha! He looks like one of us. I've seen him before. As the video spread to the Faculty of Art, Su Yang's identity was revealed, and soon the whole campus knew about the student from the Faculty of Art who could sing very well and was busking in front of the campus. The song that he sang was, Beijing Beijing. Although no one knew why Su Yang sang the song of Beijing in front of a campus in Shanghai, it did not stop them from enjoying his beautiful voice. The original singer of this song was a popular singer named Wang Feng. He was known for his coarse and rugged voice when performing the song, which made it feel wild and unrestrained. Su Yang's cover of the song was a little different from the original. After all, he was moved by what he had seen and experienced. His Beijing Beijing felt more melancholic and resistant, and it seemed as though he lost himself in the song. The anguish he exuded in his singing as a young student who was not even 20 years old seemed like he was struggling against the odds yet had hoped to fight on. Compared to the original, Su Yang's version possessed another kind of charm. In the female dorm of the campus, Chu Xia was lying in her bed with pink pajamas and a mask on her face. Her phone suddenly rang. It was just a single notification at first, but the notifications poured in one after another. She slightly turned her body and asked her roommate in the lower bunker to bring her her phone. Wenwen, can you bring me my phone? Thanks. Wenwen was still looking at something on her phone as she picked Chu Xia's phone up and passed it to her. Chu Xia then unlocked her phone and realized that the message was from the secretary group of her course and she was tagged in it. She thought there were more tasks to settle, but when she checked it, the group was spamming a short clip of some sort. Several other class secretaries sent it to the group at once, and the last message was forwarded by the secretary of the second Chinese literature class. Her name was mentioned along with the message. Isn't this Su Yang from your class? He can sing really well. Has he signed up for the campus singing competition? Su Yang. What happened to Su Yang? Chu Xia had yet to respond to the situation. At the next moment, from the lower bunk, Wenwen squealed all of a sudden, holy sh*t. It's Su Yang. The other roommates did not know what happened, so everyone gathered around for a closer look. Some of them were stunned by the realization of it and exclaimed, no wonder he looks so familiar. It's him. Yeah. Oh my God. This is really a surprise. Chu Xia was confused and curious at the same time. What happened? What happened to Su Yang again? Ha! Why did I say, again? She tapped on the clip that was posted in the group. Although the start of the video was a little dark, with her roommates and the secretary from the second class giving her hints, Chu Xia knew at first glance that the boy in the clip was Su Yang. He stood there quietly with his eyes closed. When he opened his eyes, his fingers started to stroke the guitar strings and his charming voice sang loudly. When I walk on each of these streets, it seems like my heart can never be in peace. When the first phrase entered her ears, Chu Xia had goosebumps explode all over her flesh. It was good, excellent, in fact. Su Yang's singing in the clip was far better than that time when she had heard him sing in the garden. The vicissitudes of life, the bitterness, and the emotions were expressed perfectly and brazenly in his slightly hoarse voice. Chu Xia heard it all from her phone. She could not help but feel sourness and melancholy in her heart. As the clip continued, Su Yang's singing got even more emotional and he started to shout. In the end, he no longer cared about the accuracy of his timbre. All he did was vent his emotions, and that rawness of his voice moved everyone's hearts. Even after the song ended, Chu Xia still had goosebumps all over her. She felt slightly numb and appeared absent-minded for a long while. There was only one thought floating in her mind. That's Su Yang. Meanwhile, in Su Yang's neighborhood, where Chu Xiaoming lived. Wearing a pair of round frame glasses, she was working on her lecture slides on her computer. On the sofa beside her was a young man who was 18 to 19 years of age and shared a resemblance with her. He was playing his iPad with his legs crossed. Suddenly, her computer received several desktop notifications from WeChat. She tabbed out of her PowerPoint and checked the message. It was from the faculty lecturers group. Isn't this Su Yang from the first Chinese lecture? It's him. He can sing this well. I've never noticed this before. I know, right? Su Yang. Chu Xiaoming pushed her glasses up slightly and curiously clicked on a slightly blurry clip. After she finished watching the clip, Chu Xiaoming's jaw fell to the ground and she could not close her mouth for a while. This is Su Yang. Her mind was confused for a long time before she reluctantly accepted the fact that it was him. On second thought, she searched for Su Yang's name on WeChat and sent him a message. You can sing quite well, but don't forget about our promise. After she tapped on the send button, Chu Xiaoming received a notification. Please add the user as a friend before sending a message. Su Yang deleted Chu Xiaoming's contact right after he got it. Chu Xiaoming was rendered speechless. You little just you wait. In the office building on campus, old Zhou was enjoying his tea from his thermos flask while he looked at his phone. He was grinning at a clip that was playing as Su Yang's emotional singing belted out from his phone speakers. Not bad, not bad. Old Zhou took a sip of tea from his flask and even chewed on some goji berries. In the age of the internet, the spread of information could reach light speed. Right after Su Yang finished a single song, the video of him had spread to almost half of the campus and was about to go out of the campus. Nonetheless, he had no idea about that. After he shouted the last note, he bowed deeply at the students who had stayed for his show. He returned the guitar to the busker and left despite the students begging for one more song. On the way back, Su Yang realized that several of the academic chat groups that he was in, such as the one with the class, the one with the part-timers, and even the group with the straight-A students, were spamming him with messages. Every single one of them tagged him. Indeed, even the straight-A students had a chat group and Su Yang was a member of the group. As a matter of fact, other than his poor command of English, he was considered the top student in his other subjects. His results were considered one of the best, if not the best, in his entire course and even the faculty. Otherwise, he could not have gotten into a prestigious university with his borderline English. After Su Yang tapped on the messages, he realized that his busking session had been recorded and had spread like wildfire on campus. However, he smiled and was not overly concerned. University students were young adults who could barely stay put. The slightest commotion would catch their attention and they would share the most interesting things among themselves. However, how many of them would remember what they shared, especially an impromptu performance? Of course, being recognized by almost half of the campus was something Su Yang considered joyful. I simply play the guitar and sing a song, and you people almost freak out. I find their ignorance amusing. That was what he told himself on the way home with a smirk on his face. However, right after he reached home, his good mood flew out of the door. His basement was in a mess. Books were scattered everywhere, his bed was turned upside down, his chair had fallen, and his desk was not where it usually was. Su Yang was bewildered by the scene. Most importantly, Gru, the withered twig, had transformed. Its body had grown at least 5 times and was now as robust as a log. The 2 sprouts at its tip had become vines and were being brandished around like whips. Gru angrily growled its name when Su Yang came in, Gru, Gru. Apart from that, the husky bolster, Little Hus, was nowhere to be found. Chapter 32. Little Hus Special Ability. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, Gru. Su Yang shouted. His voice was effective and Gru was stunned on the spot. The black twig turned around to Su Yang and whimpered in grievance, Gru, Gru. However, Su Yang could not understand it. Every time he communicated with Gru by observing its emotions, he was not capable of understanding the difference between GRU and GRU. Language was his weakness after all. Su Yang rubbed his temples as he closed the door and tried to pacify Gru, calm down, Gru. Let's talk it out. Right after Su Yang said that, Gru calmed down and shrunk back into his little twig form like a deflated balloon, but it made even more noise as if it was eager to tell Su Yang something, Gru GRU. Su Yang sighed. If he could not understand 2 grus, there was no way he could understand a string of grus. Why not ask Gru to write it down? As a matter of fact, it could not write or read. It could only copy Su Yang's words and not understand the meaning of writings. Therefore, the two of them could not communicate properly. Just as Su Yang's headache struck him, a lump of white and soft blob came out from under the bed. It jumped towards Su Yang as it squealed, Su Yang. Su Yang. You are finally back. The owner of the sharp voice was obviously Su Yang's second little monster, the husky bolster, also known as Little Hus. The bolster turned around and revealed its husky picture. Little Hus' eyes were wide, making it an infuriating face to look at. Su Yang. Su Yang. Take care of that dumb stick. It's trying to tear the house down. Gru got grumpy again when it saw Little Hus. It growled cautiously though it still sounded like, Gru, GRU. Su Yang signed at Gru, telling it to calm down. He then looked at Little Hus and asked, what did you do to him? Little Hus showed an inconceivable face. Me. Did something to him. He's bullying me. Gru GRU. Gru wanted to argue. Little Hus jumped around Su Yang, and when the latter did not notice, Little Hus made a funny face at Gru as if it was saying, what can you do, you dumb stick? Su Yang kicked the bolster and said, tell me what happened. Little Hus glared at Su Yang and reluctantly explained, after you left, I stayed at home obediently and didn't do anything bad. Then, that dumb Gru started to go mad. He threw things around and tried to turn the place upside down. I tried to stop him, but he beat me up. I gave my life to protect your property. But the fight ended with my failure. My powers are no match for his ferocity. This is the outcome. The husky picture on the bolster sized up the messy room and pouted with its doggy mouth. After the explanation, Little Hus showed Su Yang its sincerest expression, but with that husky face, it felt more threatening. It seemed as if Little Hus was saying, if you don't believe me, I'll kill myself in front of you. Why must the husky face be this infuriating? I really want to punch it. Even after Little Hus explained everything, Su Yang did not punish or lecture Gru at all. Instead, he really wanted to beat Little Hus up. Su Yang tried to hold his urge back. He really tried, but he ultimately failed and punched Little Hus. It felt soft as if he was punching the air. Little Hus squealed and gave Su Yang a husky death stare. Why did you beat me? Nothing in particular. Maybe my hand is itchy, he replied. Truth be told, maybe because Little Hus looked a lot like the villain in this situation, Su Yang did not believe a single word that it said. The situation might have been a typical trope in a palace drama whereby the concubines tried to kill each other with schemes and plots, or Gru's hidden ferocity and cruelty had been exposed. When it was alone, Gru was quiet and obedient, but when Little Hus came, it started to tear the place down. Compared to the mystical and dramatic story, Su Yang tended to believe that Little Hus was behind everything because in its explanation, Little Hus felt a little too innocent. It was like a loyal follower who would protect its master regardless of the circumstances. I wonder why I didn't notice all these traits yesterday. Therefore, after Su Yang told Gru to clean the place up, he lifted Little Hus up and headed to the bathroom. He tossed the bolster into the pail of water, and this time, he even covered it with a lid to prevent it from escaping. Little Hus refused to admit that he was the mastermind behind the mess as it fought back furiously and kicked a fuss. It's not fair. You are killing your loyal official. Ah! The kingdom will be ruined in your hands. You will never be able to face your ancestors with glory and pride. For a bolster with a husky face, this fella really knows how to cause a scene. Su Yang did not know how to argue anymore. He was not bothered by Little Hus' nonsense. Make all the noise you want. I'm the only one here. Even if you scream your lungs out, no one will save you. After he came out from the bathroom, he saw Gru tidying up the place swiftly. Gru also extended one of its sprouts to Su Yang and nuzzled his hand while gru.ing in grievance. Su Yang caressed its sprout and offered some consolation. Everything is fine now. I believe you. That B** starred is an evil one, so don't feel bad about it. Cheered up, Gru cleared up the room even quicker. After the place was tidied up, Su Yang went to bed. A lot had happened today and he was exhausted. His phone was blinking and buzzing with notifications from WeChat and QQ Messenger, but he did not have the mood to check them. Before this, he did not believe that singing could be tiring, but now he did. After venting all his emotions out in a single song, he might have felt a lot lighter mentally, but he was also exhausted at the same time. The next day, Su Yang woke up very late. The sun was already hanging in the sky and Little Hus had somehow gotten out from the bathroom, but this time, it did not make any noise. Instead, it jumped on Su Yang's back although it was soaked. The bed was already wet when Su Yang opened his eyes. His first reaction was, *T, did I pee on the bed? Right after his initial shock, he realized that the wet Little Hus was lying on his back with a silly grin. It opened its mouth wide and its tongue was sticking out. Its big eyes were looking at Su Yang's phone while it giggled as if it was a pervert. Su Yang switched his gaze from Little Hus to his phone. His phone was locked and the screen was black, but Little Hus' perverted face was reflected on the glass. Is this talking bolster also a narcissist? Su Yang kicked the bolster off the bed. Who allowed you to get on the bed? You are soaked. Little Hus shook its body like a real dog, but nothing was shaken off. After all, it was a bolster, not a dog. It looked at Su Yang with an innocent expression. I've shaken my body, so I should be dry now. Su Yang did not want to answer its stupid question, so he switched topics and asked, why are you looking at my phone? Little Hus gave him a mysterious look. I'm not going to tell you. Gru, bring me my brick, Su Yang commanded. Gru had never responded so quickly before. It extended its sprout almost instantly and curled it around the brick before delivering it to Su Yang. Since Su Yang had already used the brick's ability, it was in cooldown mode. In other words, it was just a face-smashing brick. He grinned sinisterly at the husky bolster. Little Hus gulped nervously and the two edges of the bolster were raised up as if in surrender. Okay, I surrender. Su Yang put the brick down. Talk. Little Hus squinted his eyes and seemed sleazy as it said, Su Yang, I actually have the special ability to tell whether or not an item has the potential to achieve life evolution. Really? Su Yang was shocked. Little Hus giggled and nodded. Su Yang was doubtful about how evil the husky looked. Is this doggy bolster trying to trick me? However, he shook his head. He believed he should not have this much prejudice against Little Hus. His random point had given life to the husky bolster, so it was not that surprising that Little Hus would have a special ability. However, no matter how he looked at Little Hus, that husky face appeared like it was trying to cheat him. Why must the husky face look like a villain? Su Yang discarded the thought from his mind and asked, then, what did you see in my phone? Shrouded in mystery, Little Hus said, I saw very high potential in your phone. It's a special one. There's an 80% chance that, life evolution, will work and the life granted to the phone will be something extraordinary. Chapter 33. Advanced Mathematics is Simple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, for real. When Su-Yang saw the sincerity in Little Hus' eyes, he started to believe the husky bolster. Maybe I should add a point to my phone. But what if I break it in the process? I need to earn money, not waste more. Su-Yang hesitated for more than 10 seconds before he finally made up his mind. Arg. F***ck it. I'm going to earn $1 million anyway. A phone only costs a few thousand yuan. I'm going to be a millionaire in the future, I can't be this stingy. With that in mind, Su-Yang started to come up with a plan to get a random point for his phone. If I get some powerful little monster, I might be rich. If not, I'll skin Little Hus and make him into dog stew. Wait, Little Hus is a bolster. A bolster doesn't have meat. Su-Yang stared at Little Hus, who was still grinning at his phone. It really felt like there was a real husky inside the bolster. Maybe there really is a husky inside the bolster. Su-Yang shook his head and suppressed his urge to rip Little Hus apart. He grabbed his phone. After not checking his phone for a whole night, his WeChat and QQ Messenger had been spammed with messages. There were a dozen notifications from the two messaging apps combined. Are they all about my singing performance last night? Su-Yang tapped on the notifications and checked them one by one. They were all indeed about his performance last night. Was my singing that good? Su-Yang was a little suspicious since the system did describe the ability as an elementary one. He tapped on a clip that someone sent him and listened for himself. After he listened to his own voice, he realized that his singing was really good. Did I sing this well last night? Su-Yang actually tried to sing and play the guitar in the past few days, but he did not reach the level of talent in the clip. Last night, due to various reasons like the resonance of his emotions and his voice that matched the mood of the song combined with the fact that the guitar from the busker was actually a decent one, his ability erupted. If he had to perform again, he might not be able to sing as well as he had last night. After all, singing required emotions, and if his emotions hit the right spot, even if his note was a little off, he could easily move people's hearts. He gave himself a big thumbs up in his heart and replied to all the messages that mentioned him. He thanked everyone's praises one by one since it was basic manners to him. After the replies, Su-Yang replied to the part.time chat group in QQ Messenger. Second registration for the 20 part.timers this weekend. The job is about pretending to be clients who are interested in buying properties, so I need someone who looks a little older. If you look like an underaged kid, please don't PM me. Those who are interested, please PM me with your picture and details. Those who have registered in the first round can send me your pictures for consideration purposes. I'll do a video call with each of you either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. If your looks pass, you will get the job. A while later, Su-Yang received pictures and information from a dozen of his classmates. A part-time job that paid 100 yuan for half a day of work was quite a good offer to a university student. The students were usually paid 70 to 80 yuan for other jobs that they received on campus. Su-Yang filtered through the candidates and came up with the first name list. There were almost 40 students, but some of them were duplicates. He saved the name list for the video calls. Once he made sure the candidate's face fit the criteria, he would give them the green light. All these students were from average or below average families, so it more or less guaranteed their characters and attitudes towards a job. The poorer a person was, the more a person would cherish every opportunity. Su-Yang was also the same. After everything was settled, he laid back on his bed and sent a message to Wang Dong via WeChat. Regardless of work or private matters, after Wang Dong got drunk at dinner with him, he should show some concern for the man. 5 minutes later, Wang Dong had yet to reply. Su Yang did not wait for him. Instead, he tapped on his friend's circle while thinking about other ways to earn more money. However, when he noticed that many of his contacts were sharing the clip of him singing last night, he was somewhat embarrassed by it. It also gave him the idea of becoming an online singer whereby he could ask people for donations per performance. Unfortunately, he knew his own standards. Last night's performance was unusual, and he could not sing this well during other days. Otherwise, he would have started streaming his performance online. Just as he continued to plan his future, he suddenly saw the straight-a student, from whom he had borrowed the notes for Modern History Essentials of Huaxiao, post a status in the friend circle. The straight-a student's name was Li Runs. He was a first-year student in the Communication and Information Engineering course of the Faculty of Information. Under normal circumstances, the Faculty of Art should not have any connections with the Faculty of Information, but maybe the deans of the two faculties woke up on the wrong side of their beds one day and decided to combine the common classes together, so both courses shared the same lecturer and course structure. For example, old Zhou would teach the other faculty modern history while Ms. Yuan from the other faculty would teach the students in the Faculty of Arts advanced mathematics. Su Yang had a good impression of Li Runs. Other than his slightly old-fashioned way of thinking and doing things, the guy was quite a decent person to be around. Otherwise, he would not have lent Su Yang his notes without having met him more than twice. Su Yang's expression somehow grew serious upon reading the status that Li Runs posted in the friend circle. I met a beautiful girl after ADV Maths today. I noticed she was a little down, so I went up to console her. After a little chat, she opened up to me and said she believed she was wasting time in this class. I instantly felt like I met someone who knows me, so I agreed. I said that I also felt the same way. The maths classes at university are too simple. Learning maths again is like an insult to my intellect. All of a sudden, she cried out loud, literally. I knew at first glance that this girl had barely experienced anything in life to have been moved by a stranger's goodwill this easily. However, finding another person who thinks ADV Maths is simple is quite a challenge. I really hope I can talk more with her. Su Yang did not know how to react at first. Was advanced mathematics that simple? Su Yang started to search his memories and he realized that the subject was quite alright. To be honest, it was a little easy. His score in advanced mathematics was also nearly perfect after all. With that in mind, he gave Li Run's status a like, acknowledging his thoughts. Right after he tapped on the like button, he realized that Ms. Yuan, who taught advanced mathematics, had commented on the status. Hee. On second thought, Su Yang removed the like. Ms. Yuan was a little narrow-minded, thus it would be best for him to stay off her radar. After he removed the like, Li Runs messaged him via WeChat. When are you going to return my notes? Tomorrow morning. I'm busy tomorrow morning as I have to study. I have a class in second period today. You can deliver my notes to me before that. Li Runs then sent Su Yang a picture of his timetable. He was going to advanced mathematics in room 302 of his faculty building. However, Su Yang had a bad feeling about this. Okay, see you. A timely return made it easier for a second loan. After all, he did borrow people's notes and had not returned it in time, so it was better for him to take the initiative this time. He got up and tidied up. He tossed Little Hus into the bathroom and told Gru to take care of the house before he headed to campus. On the way to campus, Su Yang realized that he had become popular overnight. Students pointed at him and discussed in whispers along the way as if they recognized him. Su Yang looked at his clothes and recognized that he wore the same one from yesterday. No wonder the others could recognize him. When he arrived at the Faculty of Information, a familiar girl appeared in his sight. It was Chu Xia. Chapter 34. Advanced Random Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. She tied her hair into a ponytail and wore a pink dress. A breeze blew and fluttered her skirt, revealing her slender and straight legs. They were so fair that they looked like cream. Every time he saw Chu Xia, it felt like the girl came out of a painting. When Chu Xia also spotted Su Yang, her fair and delicate face broke into a smile. What a coincidence! Su Yang raised his hand to greet her. Yeah, what a coincidence, Ms. Secretary. Chu Xia walked closer and patted his shoulder. She said as if she were his best friend, you were quite popular last night, Mr. Star. I was popular. I was just singing, he said. Chu Xia shook her head and begged to differ, you have no idea. I came to the campus to settle some tasks today and I've heard at least 7 to 8 groups of people talking about you. How are you not popular? Su Yang was also surprised. He thought that the clip was only circulated among the people he knew. He did not expect it to reach the whole campus. Are you serious? He asked. Chu Xia clicked her tongue twice and said, of course, I am. You are a big star now. Su Yang sleazily looked around before he lowered his voice and said, when should I get a cap or a pair of sunglasses to disguise myself since, you know, I'm famous now. Chu Xia sized him up carefully and played along. I think you should. Su Yang put his hand out. Can you lend me 500 yuan for a cap and a pair of glasses? When I become famous, I'll make you the president of my fan club. Chu Xia's jaw fell to the ground. You are trying to cheat my money. Su Yang laughed. Oh, so you've noticed. She grunted softly. She knew that Su Yang was trying to tease her, so there was no reason for her to be mad. Her pout faded and she nudged Su Yang with her elbow gently. Let's be serious. Are you interested in joining the campus singing competition? Can I win money? No, there's no money for you to win. Su Yang spread his hands open. Then, I'm not interested. Actually, I don't really care about the prize money. I have to study. Do you know what studying is? He then patted Chu Xia's shoulder. Well then, great secretary of our class, I have to get busy. See you around. As she watched his back leave her sight, she grumpily stomped her feet. You little. After parting ways with Chu Xia, Su Yang was thinking about what his little fame could get him. He was a practical person. Fame should be converted into something useful. If fame could not be converted, what use would fame be? To realize one's life value. Su Yang had not reached such a state in his mentality, especially when he was on a mission to earn 1 million yuan in 6 months. For the silver points, he must work harder. But what should he do? As he pondered about his fame, Su Yang reached the lecture building of the Faculty of Information. He walked to room 302. The class has not begun. Su Yang looked around and saw Li Run's sitting in the second row, so he walked over and sat down despite everyone else looking at him. He then took out Li Run's notes and returned them to him. Throughout the entire process, Su Yang clearly heard the other students whispering about him. This guy looks like the one who sang last night. Yeah, he does. Even his shirt looks the same. What singing are you guys talking about? Don't you know? Last night, there was a godly busker singing at our campus entrance. His singing was divine. It was orgasmic to listen to. Everyone in my friend's circle is spamming about him. I don't, actually. I fell asleep very early last night. Do you still have the video? Let me have a look. Su Yang tried his best to suppress his emotions. He really tried but failed. He could not help but grin in delight. However, after the little grin, he scolded himself in his heart, a little praise and you are over the moon. TSK, Su Yang, you are really worthless. Despite that, being praised felt really good. No wonder people love to hear flatteries. Li Runs took the notes. He flipped through them and said, "I saw your video last night." In shock, Su Yang looked at Li Runs, who was checking his notes with his head down, as if he had not said anything. The performance was quite nice. Thanks. Su Yang was truly shocked. A straight-A student, who barely had any entertainment activities and lived like an apostle, was praising his singing. It seemed like his singing was really outstanding last night. After some chit-chat with Li Runs, Su Yang left the classroom before Ms. Yuan arrived. He then left the Faculty of Information. However, at the moment he stepped out of the building, he received a message from Wang Dong in WeChat. Su Yang thought it was just a courteous reply, but when he checked it, his heart sank. "Brother, I'm sorry. Something came up. I don't think we can work together anymore." Su Yang frowned. "What? Can't work together anymore? Didn't we make a deal yesterday? Why the sudden cancellation?" Su Yang had just promoted the job for a second time earlier and 40 students signed up for this. If this collaboration was called off without a reason, his reputation would be affected, so he must get to the bottom of this. With that in mind, Su Yang got back into the building and entered an empty class. He called Wang Dong. The dial tone rang for more than 10 seconds before Wang Dong picked up. Before Su Yang could say anything, he heard Wang Dong's heavy sigh. "Brother, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I can't even save myself now." "Brother Dong, what happened?" asked Su Yang. "I had a little too much beer last night and got up late today. I rushed to work, but I ran into my boss. I was already an hour late. The boss called me and my supervisor into the office and scolded us. I was fired on the spot." Another deep sigh later, Wang Dong added, "I just packed my things and walked out of the office." Su Yang was astounded. He thought of a million possibilities when he received the message from Wang Dong, such as someone trying to sabotage their working relationship, Wang Dong's supervisor not approving the job, or even the property company canceling the event. He never would have thought that things had gotten this bad. Wang Dong was fired because he was late, or rather because of his excessive drinking last night. Just as he was reeling from the baffling shock, he received a beep in his mind. Advanced Random Mission. Chapter 35. The perfect way to solve the problem. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Advanced Random Mission. Su Yang was surprised. The missions are classified as advanced and not advanced. Why didn't I know this before? He called the system up and checked the new mission. New Advanced Random Mission. Solve the problem caused by last night's drinking. Due to the excessive drinking last night, Wang Dong was late for work and got fired. It also indirectly cancelled the part-time job during the weekend. Try to correct the matter to a satisfactory level. Make Wang Dong and the students who signed up for the part-time job happy. 1 to 6 random points will be rewarded depending on the completion of the mission. Remark. Getting fired is a vicissitude of life. Don't turn away from it. Don't give up. Solve the problem directly. Other than the mission description, there was a tiny button beside the advanced random mission. Su Yang tapped on it and the description for the advanced mission popped up. Advanced missions are rare events. The rewards and the trigger conditions are random. 1 to 10 points will be given based on the completion of the mission. All random missions, bronze missions, and silver missions have a chance to trigger the advanced version. Should Su Yang accept the mission? Without hesitation, he took it. He would be an idiot if he did not. As long as he could solve the matter, regardless of how he did it, he could get random points. Furthermore, the better he solved the matter, the more points he could get. If he did not take the mission, what else would he be if not an idiot? Besides, this advanced random mission did not clash with his silver mission. In Su Yang's plan, which he just came up with in the past few days. Wang Dong and Junqing Intermediary were one of the ways to complete the silver mission, or at least, move closer to his goal. Now, before he could even earn 100 yuan from it, let alone a million, the source snapped. Su Yang did not want to simply give up on this source. After he accepted the mission, he returned to the call with Wang Dong. "Brother Dong, wait for me. I'll go find you now." He hung up and sprinted towards Junqing Intermediary. Along the way, Su Yang analyzed the mission carefully. There were two keys to the mission: Wang Dong and the students who signed up for the part-time job. If the mission had not appeared, Su Yang would have probably apologized to the students and maybe consoled Wang Dong. The matter would have ended there and then. However, it was not enough to complete the mission. The best way to make Wang Dong and the students happy was actually by helping Wang Dong get back into Junqing Intermediary so that the collaboration could continue. It was Tuesday, which was 4 more days until Saturday when the property show would be held. There was still much to be done. When Su Yang was a street away from Junqing Intermediary, he saw Wang Dong holding a box with his head down while talking to a fat man in a suit. Su Yang slowed down, not wanting to interrupt the two of them. After their conversation ended, the fat man in the suit patted Wang Dong's shoulder, heavily sighing before he left. Wang Dong looked dispirited and his eyes were a little red. Su Yang waited for Wang Dong to calm down before he walked up to him. "Brother Dong." Wang Dong forced a smile on his face when he saw him. "You are here." Su Yang reached his hands out to Wang Dong. "Let me help you with that." However, Wang Dong shook his head. "It's fine. It's not that heavy." Because of that, Su Yang did not insist. When they were having dinner last night, Su Yang spotted a cafe nearby. He took the initiative to say, "Brother Dong, why don't we have a seat at the cafe? I have something to talk to you about." Wang Dong nodded. The two of them arrived at the said cafe. Su Yang ordered 2 beverages before he sat down with Wang Dong, who took out some documents from his box and looked at them with a heavy expression. When Su Yang came back with the beverages, Wang Dong put the documents aside and said, "Su Yang, I've asked my supervisor regarding your job. Our company signed a legitimate contract with you regarding this job, so since our company violated the contract one-sidedly, we will compensate you for the liquidated damages. You got a deposit of 480 yuan yesterday, and since the compensation is also 20% of the contract value, that's also 480 yuan. So, you do not have to return the money. You can head to the company for a follow-up later and sign another release contract. You will be free then." A little pause later, Wang Dong added, "Your commission is only 400 yuan, but you got 480 for doing nothing, so you aren't losing anything in this deal." Su Yang remained silent. As a matter of fact, Wang Dong was correct. Junqing Intermediary was a generous and legitimate company, so his 480 yuan was practically free money. If he did not have the mission, this would probably be the best for all parties, but he had a mission to complete. He might be happy with this 480 yuan, but would Wang Dong be happy? Would those students who were waiting for a part-time job be happy? Su Yang looked at Wang Dong's dispirited face, not sensing any happiness in the man since the compensation was for him. After some thought, Su Yang skipped to the point. "Brother Dong, what is your opinion on this?" Wang Dong hesitated for a while before admitting, "I don't know, but I have to thank you for last night." Su Yang continued to look at him without saying anything. Wang Dong then added, "I broke up with my girlfriend of 6 years a few days ago. She never ever complained about a single thing when we were together. I tried very hard to create the future that we both wanted, but I didn't know she was also having a hard time. The pressure almost suffocated her." Wang Dong lowered his head and sighed. Some silence later, he did not continue on the details. Instead, he said, "Anyway, we broke up for good, but after you called her last night, she came and took me home. We also sat down and had a good talk yesterday and decided to give it another shot. We don't want to give up so easily. He then bitterly chuckled. But as you can see, I just got fired. Now, I don't even have a goal to work towards. I don't know whether I should leave Shanghai and I have no idea how to face her. My life is a mess. Su Yang nodded. Then, do you want to go back to work? Wang Dong's eyes shone. Do you have a way? No. Su Yang shook his head. As he watched the color in Wang Dong's eyes fade, Su Yang said, but after getting to know you for 2 days, I can feel that you are passionate about your job. I believe you are a good employee. You showed me your passion for your job through the phone call and meetings even though this job with me was a small deal for your company. Besides, despite having a hard time in your relationship, you showed professionalism. A little pause later, Su Yang continued, let's look at it from a different angle. If I were in your shoes, I might not have been able to deal with the situation as well as you did. So, I want to talk to your company on your behalf. Maybe there's a chance. Before he ended, Su Yang elaborated, of course, I really wanted to continue to work with you, Brother Dong. Other than the property viewing event, we still talked about the fan service for that online artist, didn't we? Wang Dong stared straight into Su Yang's eyes, and his face slowly revealed a smile. After a long while, he said, thank you. In the afternoon, Su Yang arrived at the entrance of Junqing Intermediary again. Chapter 36. The Identity of the Lady Boss. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The receptionist was still there to welcome him. When she saw Su Yang, the pretty receptionist smiled. Are you here for the contract? Su Yang smiled bitterly and shook his head. No, I'm here to release the contract, in fact. The receptionist was shocked. Didn't you make a deal with us yesterday? Su Yang spread his hands open. Yes, I did, so I'm also confused but helpless. A little pause later, he moved closer and whispered, I heard it's because of your boss. Su Yang finally revealed his intention of speaking with the receptionist. He asked her, Miss, what kind of person is your boss? The receptionist did not realize that she was falling into Su Yang's pace. She propped her chin up with her hand and gazed into the ceiling, deep in thought. Our boss. I guess you can say she's a powerful woman. Su Yang sharply captured 2 keywords. Powerful and woman. She always does things fiercely and comes and goes like the wind, said the receptionist. There's a rumor in the company about her, saying that this company is nothing but a toy to her. She doesn't really care about it. Most of the company's sales and connections are made possible because of her. Su Yang was surprised by the revelation. Yesterday, when he arrived at Junqing Intermediary, he had checked on the company's registration information. The registered capital of the company was 10 million yuan. 10 million in registered capital. A rough estimation later, the intermediary should be worth around tens of millions, yet according to the pretty receptionist, the company was just a toy. Su Yang started to draw an outline of how wealthy this boss was. After he got what he wanted from the receptionist, he told her that he was there to look for someone. The receptionist quickly made the call to the office. A while later, the fat man in the suit, who Su Yang had seen earlier in the day, leisurely walked out of the office. He came out and greeted the pretty receptionist with a wide smile. Yao Yao, my department got an extra piece of cake today. Do you want some? The receptionist smiled and said, Manager Zhang, spare me, please. I'm on a diet. Manager Zhang did not insist. He turned around and nodded at Su Yang with a distant look, signing the latter to follow him. Su Yang did not care about the manager's attitude and just followed the man into the office. The 2 of them did not walk into the meeting room. Instead, they headed to the manager's office. The office was rather small. It was probably one of the smallest offices in Junqing Intermediary. It seemed like this manager was just a department manager who only got the position by relationship. Manager Zhang invited Su Yang into the office and closed the door from inside. He wriggled his fat body back to his desk and fished out a contract from his pile of documents. He put it on the desk and said coldly, "Have a look. If it's good, sign it and you can leave." Su Yang did not touch the contract. On the contrary, he asked, "Manager Zhang, I want to continue working with Junqing." Manager Zhang looked asquint at Su Yang before he sat down. His fat body proved to give the chair tremendous pressure to the point that it squeaked as if it could break at any moment. "We won't work with you again." "Why?" Manager Zhang's fat fingers tapped his desk. "It's confidential." Su Yang obviously sensed hostility in Manager Zhang's attitude and he had three theories in his mind. Firstly, Su Yang was an abandoned collaborator. Manager Zhang did not have the mood to deal with him since he was practically worthless. Secondly, Manager Zhang might not have been in a good mood because of his family matters or his body. Thirdly, Manager Zhang blamed Su Yang for getting Wang Dong fired. Based on the conversation Manager Zhang had with the receptionist, the second guess was out. After some thought later, Su Yang said, "Manager Zhang, I'm sorry about Wang Dong leaving, but I think it shouldn't affect our working relationship. I don't understand why Wang Dong's absence dissolved the agreement between us." Manager Zhang looked askance at Su Yang before he shut his eyes. "I'm sorry. We didn't dissolve the agreement with you because of Wang Dong. It's actually a business matter." "Business matter, my A****. As a matter of fact, Wang Dong had actually been fired by the powerful female boss of Junqing Intermediary, but the one who had dissolved the contract with Su Yang was not the boss. It had been Manager Zhang. Manager Zhang had been called into the boss's office earlier today and was scolded badly. One of the most hard-working workers in his department, who could bear hardship without complaint, was even fired, so of course the manager was angry. His fury erupted when Manager Zhang heard that Wang Dong had actually been late because of a meeting with an insignificant client last night and had tried to protect the client's benefit. He immediately went to the legal affairs department and stopped Su Yang's contract. Wang Dong was guilty of being late, so he did not have a say in this. All he did was fight for Su Yang's benefit, allowing the latter to leave with the compensation for liquidated damages. After all, in Wang Dong's opinion, getting 480 yuan as compensation was much better than the intermediary commission of 400 yuan. Only then could he face Su Yang a little easier. However, Manager Zhang would never reveal the truth since he was the one who had stopped the contract. Su Yang failed to intercept via the contract, so he took a step back and compromised. He tried to ask about the boss of Junqing Intermediary. "May I know the name of the boss of your company? I wish to speak to her." Manager Zhang's eyes twitched. "Our boss is a busy person. She doesn't have the time for a client. Not even time for a business partner." Manager Zhang chuckled in disdain. "First of all, you aren't a business partner. Second, our boss assigned us managers to deal with the affairs in the company, so she never meets any business partner." Once again, Su Yang failed to get any useful information regarding the boss from Manager Zhang. The fat man's mouth was sealed tight and Su Yang was clueless about how to get him to open up. In the end, Su Yang signed the contract and left Junqing Intermediary with 480 yuan in compensation. However, right after he stepped out of the company, he clenched his teeth tightly. "Do you think I can't get anything about your boss if you don't give me anything? It's the age of the internet." After Su Yang got home, he took out his phone and searched for Junqing Intermediary again. He learned that the legal representative for the company was a woman named Xiao Anna, but she only held 3% of the company shares. She was obviously not the powerful lady boss that the receptionist mentioned and was probably only a manager or something. The other party that held 97% shares of the company was another company called Shanghai Juntian Investment Limited. Su Yang searched from there and ran a background check on this investment company. He then found a familiar name. Jiang Yen. As the biggest shareholder of Shanghai Juntian Investment Limited, Jiang Yen held 80% of the company's shares. Jiang Yen. Chu Xia's friend. The young master Jiang that De Fat referred to. Su Yang was a little dumbfounded. Is Shanghai this small for me to run into an acquaintance in this situation? However, on second thought, the image of Junqin intermediary's powerful female boss did match Jiang Yan's reputation, thus Su Yang believed that it was highly possible. Chapter 37. Aren't we good friends? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After making sure of the direction, Su Yang did not act right away. Instead, he sent a message to Wang Dong. Brother Dong, what is your boss' surname? Xiao or Jiang? A moment later, Wang Dong replied. Sis Xiao is our company's commerce director. The big boss of the company is Jiang if I remember correctly, but we usually call her boss. If Su Yang was 60% sure before, he was 80% sure when he heard Wang Dong's reply. He quickly replied with a message. Do you have a picture of the big boss? Wang Dong replied almost right away. No, but, Su Yang, I don't recommend you find her. You have never seen her before and you won't understand. Normal people can't even speak properly in front of her as her presence is very strong, too strong, in fact. She won't listen to anyone's explanation. Su Yang replied. I'll take note of that. Thanks, Brother Dong. In a rented apartment on the outskirts of the city, Wang Dong sighed when he read Su Yang's last message on WeChat. He knew that Su Yang had not taken his advice. He's still too young, but since I was already fired, what's the worst that could happen? Getting fired twice. Just let him be. My priority is to figure out my future. What should I do and where should I go? Su Yang was almost certain that Jiang Yen was Wang Dong's boss. He twirled his pen with his fingers as he thought of a way to locate her. He knew that the chances for Jiang Yen to take order back were slim, but based on the remark of the advanced mission, there were always unhappy things in life or at work, but you should not escape from problems. As an adult, you should learn to solve the matter and take responsibility for your actions. Despite the odds being slim, Su Yang decided to give it a try. Su Yang thought of everyone within his circle and the only possible candidate was Chu Xia, thus he decided to make a move on her. He called Chu Xia via messenger. As for why he did not make a call, a phone call charged money while making a call via messenger was free. A few seconds later, Chu Xia picked up the call. What's up, Mr. Big Star? Changed your mind about the singing competition? Su Yang giggled and said, nope. Then, what is this call about? Asked Chu Xia. Can I ask you to introduce me to your friend? I want to buy her a meal to thank her. Su Yang's ambiguous request confused Chu Xia for a moment. Who are you trying to ask out? Jiang Yen, you told me she's the one who introduced me to the gold shop, remember, explained Su Yang. Oh. Shouldn't you buy me a meal first? I did ask her on your behalf. Chu Xia finally remembered the favor, but her sharp senses told her something was not right. Su Yang cleared his throat and said awkwardly, I'll buy you both a meal, but can we keep it under 480 yuan? Why? Asked Chu Xia. Su Yang would never have told her that if the meal cost more than 480 yuan, he would lose money in this deal. He came up with an excuse and said, come on. You weren't this fussy last time. Can you please help me? Chu Xia grunted softly, no, why not? I can't call her out myself. She's too busy. I barely see her every day. She won't have a meal with us just because of this tiny matter, said Chu Xia seriously. Su Yang rubbed his chin. It seemed like asking Chu Xia for a face-to-face with Jiang Yen was no longer viable. He quickly compromised and said, then, can you send me a picture of her? Hey! Don't you think you're a bit too much? What are you trying to do with her picture? Don't tell me you are going to thank her picture instead of her in person. Su Yang rolled his eyes. I want to worship her like a god. Can I? Chu Xia did not reply right away as she felt suspicious. It seemed like she would not simply send him the picture without a valid reason. Su Yang's mind spun rapidly and quickly came up with another excuse. He faked a cough to cover up his awkwardness and said in a bashful tone, actually. That gold shop owner said your friend is very beautiful. He said she's like a deity, so I'm just curious. Chu Xia could not help but chuckle at Su Yang's excuse. It seemed more like Su Yang's character, but for whatever reason, her heart felt a little uneasy. She did not give the feeling much thought though. After the call, she headed to Jiang Yan's friend circle and picked a picture for Su Yang. Su Yang saw the picture Chu Xia sent over. He realized that his random excuse was really a great one, as Jiang Yan was really a beautiful woman. In the picture, Jiang Yan wore a black oversized coat as she stood on the observation deck on the rooftop of New Era Plaza. She was gazing into Shanghai's nightscape further away. The dark sky in the picture was garnished with some stars, elevating the atmosphere of the whole picture. New Era Plaza was a 5A super building in Shanghai that combined business and commerce. Only the top business elites of Shanghai could be at the plaza, and those who lingered on the rooftop were people that commoners could never imagine existed. Of course, it was impossible for Su Yang to know Jiang Yan was standing on New Era Plaza's observation deck based on a single picture. He was just amazed that the picture was well shot. Inside the picture, it was already night time, but the exterior glass wall of the building was embedded with beautiful lighting. It made the entire building resemble the stairway to heaven, and Jiang Yan was standing on the first step of the stairs, gazing down at the whole Shanghai like an empress who had ascended to the throne. Had it been taken by a drone? The camera angle was obviously extended into the air. It was probably another extravagant way of life of the wealthy for even a selfie to be taken with a drone. After seeing how Jiang Yan looked, Su Yang took out his fruit-loving pen, which he had not used for a while. He ate an apple, which was the only fruit that he had in his basement. However, the pen did not respond even after he finished the apple. As expected, the daughter of the heavens isn't around the campus. Well, this place is rather remote, so. Su Yang just wanted to narrow down the search range with his little test. If he searched all over Shanghai and realized that Jiang Yan was in the Baoshan district, where Shanghai University was located, that would be a shame for him and for her. Su Yang, what are you eating? Right after Su Yang checked Jiang Yan's location, Little Hus jumped in front of him. Its round doggy eyes were looking at the apple core in Su Yang's hand. Su Yang rolled his eyes at the husky bolster. I'm eating an apple. Do you want some? I want. Little Hus' eyes widened and its husky picture revealed its desire for the seed. As it stuck its tongue out, Su Yang could even see saliva at the edges. Su Yang touched it. The bolster was dry. It seemed like only the picture of the husky changed. He put the apple beside Little Hus' mouth. Here. Little Hus opened its mouth and tried to eat it, but it was still a bolster. How could it really eat something? It spun around the apple core eagerly. It was so excited that its face turned red. After it tormented itself for 2 minutes, it gave up. It stared at Su Yang with its husky eyes and said, Su Yang, why must you toy around with me? Aren't we good friends? Su Yang watered grew and said without being concerned, are we good friends? You humans said it yourself. Dog is man's best friend, isn't it? But you aren't a dog. I am. Okay, as long as you are happy. After he finished teasing Little Hus, he tidied up and went out. He headed to the supermarket for a bag of grapes and went on a journey to search for Jiang Yen. He should settle this matter as soon as possible as time was ticking. Chapter 38. Let's do something big. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. While he searched for Jiang Yen, Su Yang sincerely thanked the Shanghai subway planning. Which genius invented the rule that the fare should only be charged from the starting station and the destination, and no matter how many interchanges there are in between, all of them are free. This really saves a lot of money. Su Yang almost sat through all 14 subway lines of Shanghai. He ate a grape whenever he reached a station and thought of Jiang Yan's name and face so that the pen could locate her. He started at 3 in the afternoon and it was already 8 at night. He sat in the subway for a full 5 hours and only spent 6 yuan in total. Su Yang believed that he already earned his value just by enjoying the air.con inside the subway. He never thought that he would one day become someone who took advantage of the country's benefit. Using the pen in the subway was probably the best idea. In the end, Su Yang located Jiang Yen in the Shipu district. La Moda Lounge, number 128, North Beijing Road, Shipu District, Shanghai, Huaxiao. She's in a bar. Su Yang thought of many possibilities, but he did not expect to find his target at a bar. Could all powerful women face a lot of pressure and had to rely on drinking to relieve their stress? However, the bar was probably the most ideal location since it was a public area and was much more convenient than some private club or whatnot, so he could simply walk up to her and chat. After he wrote down the address, Su Yang tapped the map on his phone and searched for the place. The bar was not far away from the subway exit and was within walking distance. After he got out of the station, Su Yang followed the navigation and reached the bar. The entrance was not big or grand though it looked a little European. An English signboard was hung at the entrance. La Moda Lounge. If the navigation had not translated it for Su Yang, he would have no idea what it meant. He ate another grape to make sure Jiang Yen was still at the bar. She was. He prepared himself mentally and went in. When he walked in, Su Yang highly suspected that he was in the wrong place. Is this a bar or a flower shop? The floral fragrance wafted in the air, and vibrant flowers were all over the place. Warm cartoonish decorations and meaningful foreign paintings decorated the place while a glamorous chandelier was hanging from the ceiling. It did not look like the typical bar in movies. Aren't all bars messy and noisy? This place looks more like a girl's room. If he had not known that the pen could never go wrong, Su Yang would never have related a powerful woman who gazed upon the city from New Era Plaza's observation deck to this girlish bar. Su Yang looked around and found Jiang Yen at the counter. Her long black hair was draped over her shoulder while her leather jacket and pants made her look sharp and valiant. She leaned on the counter, drinking her beverage in silence. Su Yang walked to her side and sat down. Then, he called the bartender and asked, "Hi, can I have something with the lowest alcohol percentage?" The bartender might not have heard such a weird request, so he was surprised for a moment before he answered with a smile, "No problem, sir." When he saw the bartender uncork the bottle, Su Yang quickly added, "Oh, and how much would it be?" The bartender put his hand up and signed an 8. Su Yang was slightly relieved. Be it 18 or 88 yuan, it was within his acceptable price range. 888. Su Yang was petrified. "I think I'll just have a glass of sky juice." "Thank you." The bartender shrugged but did not show any disdain. He corked the bottle of alcohol and poured a glass of water for Su Yang. "That will be 10 yuan. "Thank you." A glass of water that cost 10 yuan. Su Yang painfully and reluctantly took his wallet out. Jiang Yen was beside Su Yang. She watched the interesting scene and shook her head as she chuckled. She tilted her head up and drank from her glass. The action made her look like a swan with a long fair neck. After she put down her glass, she asked, is there something I can do for you? Su Yang did not expect Jiang Yen to start the conversation. The woman was as powerful and smart as the rumors. Su Yang answered, there is, actually. Jiang Yen toyed with her glass and said, who sent you here? No one. I'm here for myself. Speak. Su Yang briefly explained the situation to her. I first heard of Junqing intermediary the day before yesterday. Wang Dong called me for a meeting and his passion for his job gives me a good impression of your company. Yesterday, when I went to your company for a follow-up on the job, the receptionist and Wang Dong treated me politely and welcomed me warmly. They didn't look down on me because of my age or how tiny the job scope is. After we agreed on the deal, your company's SOPs and high efficiency gave me a good impression as well. At night, Wang Dong and I had dinner and maybe we had a little too much beer on the table, so he was late for work today. He ran into you, and thought he was fired. I'm not here to plead for him, but I ask you to give him a chance. Everyone makes mistakes and everyone deserves a chance to do over. He is really a good employee. Jiang Yen was quiet for a while before she looked at Su Yang. Who's this Wang Dong? Su Yang did not know how to reply to her question, but before he could say anything, she continued, I might not remember this man, but I think I fired someone this morning. If you are telling the truth, although he seems to love his job, he made a mistake and I fired him. Am I correct? So that I fired him because of a mistake he made. What is the problem here? Su Yang tried to explain in a more sincere tone, being late to work isn't that big a mistake and he was late because he went socializing with a client. He shouldn't deserve such a heavy punishment. Jiang Yen had a serious expression. No mistake is too small. A second of delay can cause a plane to crash and people will die, a millimeter closer and the bullet can kill you. While Su Yang found the woman unreasonable to talk to, he added, being late has nothing to do with that kind of situation. You are not the one to judge whether the mistake is big or small, Jiang Yen said without any courtesy. Su Yang's jaw dropped and could not utter a single word for a while. In the end, he asked, then, can you guarantee that you won't make a mistake? Jiang Yen smiled. She was beautiful when she smiled, but she did not look soft or tender. Instead, she looked valiant. I can't, but I won't give others the right to control my fate. She then put her glass down and told the bartender, put it on the tab. With that, she lifted her slender and long legs and left. Su Yang saw her go off with a heavy frown. This woman. He finished the glass of water and stormed out of the bar. It seemed like Wang Dong and the receptionist were right. Jiang Yen was really domineering. Almost no one could reverse the decisions she made. It was just a quick meeting and Su Yang already knew no matter how many times he would talk to her, the outcome would be the same. Would this mean that his first advanced main mission would fail? He still planned to add points to his phone and complete the silver mission. Su Yang looked at the bustling crowd and the moving cars as his head replayed that phrase from Jiang Yen. I won't give others the right to control my fate. He then thought of his silver mission. To earn 1,000,000 yuan in 6 months. Does it mean I have to act in accordance with other people's moods or wait for a job from others just to earn 1,000,000? Leaving everything in fate's hands sounds rather useless. Maybe it's time to take control of my own fate. With that in mind, Su Yang clenched his teeth and thought of something bold. Since he could not help Wang Dong get his job back and he himself had channels and resources for part-time jobs, he planned to do something big. He wanted to recruit Wang Dong and form his own company. He wanted to take the job for himself. Chapter 39. Persuade Wang Dong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. With that in mind, Su Yang did not contact Wang Dong right away. He knew he was just a university student who did not have any funds or a reliable family background. To be able to recruit Wang Dong, he would have to prove his unique value and lay out his dreams for the future, or in simple words, sell him a bloated dream. When he got home, Su Yang carefully listed out his own strengths and weaknesses besides taking Wang Dong's concerns and ideas into consideration. He prepared everything and stored all the information in his mind. Ever since his high school exam, he had never tried so hard to prepare or execute a certain matter. After everything was settled, he confidently went to bed. Running into problems was a vicissitude of life. Jiang Yan's rejection was nothing surprising, and since he could not change her mind, he ought to steer the matter in a better direction. On the morning of the second day, Su Yang sent a message to Wang Dong. He wanted to talk to the man over lunch and Wang Dong agreed. After his class, Su Yang stormed out of the classroom for the meeting, but right after he stepped out, he ran into Li Runs, who was wearing a pair of glasses and standing in the corridor outside class, reading a book seriously. "Ha! Didn't Li Runs say he was going to study today and was busy? Why is he here?" One of Su Yang's strengths was his limited curiosity. The thought only flashed across his mind and did not even leave an impression. He planned to greet Li Runs before leaving for the meeting. Suddenly, Li Runs looked at Su Yang with an expressionless face. "Oh, you finished your class." He made it sound like he was waiting for Su Yang. "Yeah, you are waiting for me." Li Runs nodded. "Yeah. Do you want to have lunch together? We can study mathematics together after that." Su Yang was rendered speechless, obviously dumbstruck. Li Runs pushed his glasses up slightly and said with a blank look, "Ms. Yuan said you scored 98 points in advanced mathematics last semester. That's not bad." Embarrassed, Su Yang replied, "Can we do this another day? I have an appointment in the afternoon today." Li Runs did not show any expression as he nodded and replied, "Sure. When will you be free?" "Ha." People usually use this kind of excuse to reject invitations, yet he asked to reschedule. Curious, Su Yang came up with another excuse, "Next week." Li Runs nodded again, "Which day?" Su Yang gave up, "Let's make it on Monday." "Sure." Li Runs nodded and walked away. Su Yang wiped the sweat off his forehead. He somehow felt pressure when facing a dull straight-a student like Li Runs. After he discarded Li Runs out of his mind, Su Yang checked his watch. He still had time, so he quickly sprinted towards the promised location. Soon, Su Yang reached the restaurant for lunch. It was the same restaurant where Wang Dong had gotten drunk. Su Yang tasted the food the other day and was quite fond of it. Furthermore, the price range was also decent and the service was good. More importantly, it was where he had the first dinner with Wang Dong. This place held a special meaning. To be honest, Su Yang was a poor young man and had not been to other restaurants, so he did not know a better recommendation. When he arrived, Wang Dong was already sitting at the table where they sat the other day. His brows were tightly locked as he scrolled his phone. Su Yang walked over and caught a glimpse of the screen. It was a job.finding website. It seemed like Wang Dong had planned to look for a job, which was a good sign, meaning the man was eager to find a job. Su Yang sat opposite Wang Dong, who greeted him first, "You're here. Let's order something first." Su Yang nodded and said with a smile. He was holding the initiative for this conversation after all. The two of them ordered 3 dishes. When the waiter left for the kitchen, Su Yang took the initiative to speak first. "Brother Dong, I met your boss yesterday. How did it go?" Wang Dong's attention was captured by Su Yang's words. Su Yang shook his head. "She didn't agree to hire you back." Despite being prepared for this, Wang Dong was still disappointed by the answer. Su Yang saw his dismal expression, so he smiled and consoled, "But, Brother Dong, I might have found you a new job." Wang Dong instantly perked up as he looked at Su Yang in surprise. "For real?" Su Yang nodded. He did not blurt out his true thoughts. Instead, he asked, how much did Junqing intermediary pay you the last time? Do you get commissions and bonuses? Wang Dong thought for a while. My basic salary is 6,000 yuan per month. I didn't get any commission at first, but now, I can rake in around 1,000 a month. The company benefits are quite good. Everyone is given double pay at year-end, or the 13th month salary. As for the bonus, it varies depending on positions and performance. I usually get around 3,000. Su Yang quickly calculated the number in his head. Wang Dong's annual salary was around 94,000 yuan, which worked out to be an average of 8,000 monthly. It was considered a slightly above average salary in Shanghai but was still within his expectations. Carefully, he said, the new company can give you almost similar benefits. The basic is 5K and you can get more commission, around 10%. If you can perform, you can get a few thousand without a problem. There will be 3 months of probation period without Social Security. Social Security will only be given after the probation period. There's double pay during year-end and bonuses will be given. What do you think? Wang Dong was in awe, but he did not agree right away. He marked down the terms in his mind and asked, what kind of company is that? What does it do? It's an intermediary company that specializes in finding people part-time jobs, similar to what you do at Junqing. It's all about looking for clients and then introducing the jobs to students or people who have free time on their hands. As for the company, it's a startup. There's barely anyone and it's still taking shape, Su Yang said with a solemn expression. Wang Dong was a little suspicious after he heard Su Yang's explanation. It was only normal for him to react like this since most people who jumped from a big company to a smaller startup would also hesitate. Su Yang spotted the hesitation on Wang Dong's face, so he started to boast, but since it's a startup company, you will be one of the pioneer employees, and when the company expands, you will grow together. From a normal employee to a supervisor to a manager or even a director, it is possible. It's at least better than staying in an established company where you have to climb up bit by bit and to wait for the higher-ups to leave, am I right? Su Yang's persuasion started to move Wang Dong. He saw Wang Dong's wavering heart, but he still had not made the decision, so Su Yang brought out his killer move. Besides, this company appreciates employees like you who bring resources to help it grow, so you will have the right to get equity shares. After the probation period, you can get 2% of the company shares and the company also has an option pool. You will be able to get more options based on performance at a later stage. It's all up to your hard work and results. Options are different from shares. Wang Dong was moved by Su Yang's terms. He hemmed and hawed, and finally, he clenched his teeth and said, okay. I'll do it. An ordinary 9 to 5 has really ground my mentality down. I should take the risk for once. Su Yang flashed a bright smile after Wang Dong agreed. We are already halfway through. The plan is progressing smoothly. After Wang Dong agreed, he then asked, so, what's the company's name? Where should I meet them for an interview? Su Yang pointed at Wang Dong and then himself. You've already been interviewed. I'm the company. Wang Dong's mind turned blank right away. His jaw dropped to the ground and the shock on his face was brazen. Chapter 40. Are nobles born with blue blood? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Yang did not interrupt Wang Dong's absent-minded state. Instead, he looked into the man's eyes with confidence. When Wang Dong came back to his senses, the expression on his face turned bitter, and then he seemed conflicted. In the end, he smiled bitterly at Su Yang and said, brother, are you kidding me? Su Yang shook his head. No, I'm serious. Wang Dong pointed at Su Yang, his finger trembling slightly and he could not find the appropriate words to describe his feelings. You don't believe I can form my own company, said Su Yang simply. Wang Dong nodded. Su Yang did not boast about his dream anymore from this point onward. Selling a bloated dream was necessary, but it would be resentful if everything was just talk. He switched to a sincere and honest look and said, "Brother Dong, what you said a few days ago inspired me a lot, and the talk with Ms. Jiang gave me a lot of ideas as well. Her words moved me. I've been thinking ever since I got back yesterday. Are people from poor backgrounds, like us, destined to settle at the bottom forever? Can't we have our own business? I don't believe it. I don't believe people have predestined classes. I believe hard work can change fate, so I want to gamble and have my own business. Like what the people said in ancient times. Are all nobles born with blue blood? No. In our current internet lingo, don't bully a poor young man. If they can do it, why can't we?" Su Yang looked at Wang Dong with an honest and sincere gaze. "Brother Dong, help me. I need you in this. Don't you want to fight for your own future while you are still young? Do you want to give up just like this? I'll guarantee you that I'll pay your salary every month, so it won't affect your livelihood. 3 months. 3 months won't take up a lot of your time. If you still don't see hope in my company in 3 months, you can leave. But if we bet on the right side, our lives will be rewritten." Wang Dong looked at Su Yang in silence, seeming a little absent-minded. It was not because of how badly Su Yang was pitching to him. On quite the contrary, Su Yang's speech was incredibly tempting. He realized that ever since Su Yang sat down, the young man controlled the conversation from start to end. If Su Yang had blurted out everything as soon as he sat down, such as how he wanted to form his own company and invited him to join him, Wang Dong would have turned a deaf ear and walked away. However, Su Yang did not. He stated all the terms one by one and moved Wang Dong. Then, he waited for Wang Dong to accept the terms before revealing the truth. Wang Dong did not feel like he was cheated. Instead, he felt impressed for whatever reason. Are there people who were born to do great things? This negotiation technique, this ability to direct the conversation, this confidence. Not everyone can have something like this. Maybe he can really pull it off. Wang Dong sized Su Yang up carefully. With his young and delicate-looking face, the smile on his face was confident. Was I like him when I'm younger? If I had taken the risk in my earlier years, what would I become now? Wang Dong could not help but be carried away by his own thoughts. After a long while, he smiled. He could not change the past anymore, and since there was another young man who was taking an entirely different path than his and even promised to pay him his salary, why not? He could just treat it as taking 3 months off from his usual job. After all, Wang Dong did not have any company that he wished to join at the moment. It was just 3 months. Why not take the gamble with Su Yang? Maybe they might achieve something through this gamble. With that, Wang Dong finally made up his mind. He regained his senses and stuck his hand out and said, "Please take care of me in the future, President Su." Su Yang smiled when he saw Wang Dong's hand. He shook the hand and said, "Let's work on this together." Su Yang actually had decent insight in judging people, and Wang Dong was really a good employee. Since Wang Dong made up his mind to join him on his entrepreneur journey, he started to request for more details from the perspective of an employee. He wanted to know what Su Yang wanted to do and how he planned to operate the company. However, when he heard that Su Yang had not even registered the company, he somehow felt like he had embarked on the wrong ship. Since he was already in this, he might as well make the best out of the situation. If he backed out now, it would not be decent of him. The two of them talked about the company over lunch. As a boss, Su Yang of course needed to state everything clearly. "Brother Dong, your first mission is to continue our collaboration from Junqing and make it happen. My goal is simple. Since you've been working in Junqing for so long, you should understand how they operate. If I'm not wrong, Junqing usually outsources their job to outside companies, thus it should not be a problem if they outsourced it to us. Try and see whether you can hook us up. I'll continue to recruit students who want to do part-time jobs. My campus has 35k students, and at least 10% of them have worked part-time before or want to, so I'll roughly have 3.5k manpower available. We don't need a lot. If we can gather all the students who want to do part-time jobs, the commission alone will be enough for the company to grow. Wang Dong put a piece of meat into his mouth with his chopsticks and said, "Do you know why I contacted you for a part-time job that day?" "Why?" "Because students are a mobile asset. The seniors will step into society after 3 to 4 years and have a real job, so they won't be doing part-time jobs anymore. So, the turnover rate of part-time students is quite high. You might be able to gather them from the campus now since you are a student, but what if you are no longer a student? How will you continue to gather the students? Or is our company only going to last for 3 years? Su Yang smiled. He had figured this point out a while ago. "I'll take care of that. You don't have to worry." Since the boss was this confident, Wang Dong did not say anything else. He was not the person in charge anyway since he was not even a shareholder yet. Thinking too far ahead would be useless. His goal would be to make the company last through the first 3 months. A little pause later, he started to tell Su Yang about his job. "I can settle the matters with Junqing. I am quite close to my manager, so I should be able to get the jobs that I used to work on from him." Su Yang ate some rice and said, "Manager Zhang. He seems to have some prejudice about me. Will it affect the collaboration?" Wang Dong shook his head. "It's just how Brother Zhang is. He is not a bad person. He just likes to vent his emotions at people. The collaboration with you was called off because I was fired, so he tried to vent it out on you. I'll go talk to him. It shouldn't be a problem." "Okay then, I'll leave it to you," said Su Yang. He ate a piece of meat and said, "We will take jobs from Junqing from now, and after this week, we should both go expand our own clientele base. That's what keeps a company alive." Wang Dong smiled and tapped his chest. "Don't you worry about that. I've been working in Junqing for over 2 years. I've got a lot of client sources on my hand and some of them have cut ties with Junqing, but I kept their contacts. Some of them will have the need for manpower. All we need to do is call them." The two of them got closer over lunch and they treated each other more like part of a team. After lunch, Wang Dong headed to Junqing Intermediary while Su Yang took the subway to the Shanghai Administration Bureau for Industry and Commerce to officially register his company. On the way there, as he stared at the flying signages outside the speeding subway train as his thoughts slowly floated away. He was finally starting his path of being an entrepreneur and Wang Dong was persuaded to join his company. Even though the reason behind Wang Dong's participation was mostly because of the bloated dream Su Yang sold him, who said that a bloated dream could not come true. Back then, when Jackie Ma presented his dream to his partners. Be, did he really believe that he could create a gigantic e-commerce empire? Probably not. Everyone should have a dream, and sometimes, even a bloated one could come true. Maybe, in a few years, Wang Dong would thank him for the offer that changed his life.